chiropractic physician, biologist, chemist, former member of FERC, Fish Passage Advisory Team, and also the Hatchery Evaluation Team in 2002. When the first cavalry came through this area in the early 1800s, they could not find potable water. Toxic water, swamps, and mosquitoes. That's what they found. Coho salmon are not native to this river. They were planted in the 40s and 50s, as you heard earlier. Let's face it, energy is a big production need for our country right now. The cleanest form of energy on this entire planet is hydroelectric. I cannot understand how the Indian tribes and the environmentalists, ludicrous for them to even consider tearing them down to be replaced on coal-fired plant that'll produce emissions that'll foul up the atmosphere even worse.
The FERC EIS is inadequate for many reasons. First and foremost because it ignores the many social justice issues created by the dams, the water quality, and the death of the fish. It is not possible that the Klamath project will be able to meet California standards of water quality with the dams in place, and for that reason I also urge that they be removed.
I kind of question why Pacific Core's feet is being held to the fire to meet water quality standards with water that they don't have any control over. But the water at its source, up in Klamath Falls, Sprague, Williamson, and artesian wells and well water, all have enough phosphorus to support algae growth at their source. And that study was done by Mr. Reichbost, and he's a 25-year professor at Oregon State. From there it goes into Klamath Lake, excuse me, where it gets warmer, it picks up more nutrient loading, and by the time it gets to our lake, it is warm and plenty of nutrients to support and encourage a toxic and algae bloom.
Other 4 kids and I got to get out of the boat and ride down the rapids in our life jackets. And a few days later I got sick and I was throwing up and couldn't eat very much for multiple days, and I had a fever for multiple days afterwards. And I think that we need to remove the dams to increase water quality.
Being in the water over 50 times a year for over 50 years, as my grandfather before me, I can unequivocally state the water quality, quantity, temperature, riparian stability, and even the algae are far better now than before the dam. It was put in, as was the project and other dams, primarily to improve environmental conditions and water quality, and it worked. The dams were located where they are since very few salmon were known to migrate beyond Spencer Creek at the upper reach of Copco.
And I am a scientist as well. I've been 30 years in public health. The public health impacts are not well studied. What we do know about microcystin is relatively little. This is a growing field of knowledge.
Siskiyou County Farm Bureau Board of Directors is on record as being in opposition to either options of the retirement of Copco 1 and Iron Gate or the Ford Dam removal option. We have concerns on dry years such as this of water flow issues with the Klamath, and that you would then turn to the Shasta and Scott to try to make up water flows that are lost or not held in the dams and able to be used for the fish. We've made enormous gains through work with our RCDs, and we'd hate to see all that go to waste and the effort that the farmers and ranchers have put in to help sustain the operations.
Baseline comparison should be a dams out scenario. That is, after all, the position that the river was in before the dams were originally licensed. It's number one, blocking access to habitat at least 300 to 500 miles of prior fully occupied salmonid habitat is above the dams.
And I am Shasta Indian descent, but I can't tell you how many generations for 10,000 years or so. I do a lot of research, and Peter Skeen Ogden was one of the first explorers to get to the Klamath River in 1827. He arrived on the Klamath River at Beswick, and then he traveled on down to Camp Creek. But in that distance of time, he He had a Klamath guide from the Chilcotin tribal area, but he told him that the rapids along there were rough and the salmon could not ascend above those rapids. When the fish got up to the Copco Marsh area, whatever they called it, they were already spawning, they were beat up, they couldn't hardly make it any further than that, and they were inedible.
You were presented with a beautiful jar of Iron Gate Reservoir algae, which I hope you did take with you. We find rotting algal mats. They look and smell horrible. Remember that people are paying to come and experience this. And the river is so warm as not to be refreshing in the summertime. Complete dam removal is the only solution to the wide array of problems posed by water quality on the Klamath.
Dams don't kill salmon.